Welcome to Canucks After Dark. Here are your hosts, Parker Hallowell and Clay Emo.
Good evening, Vancouver, and welcome back to Canucks After Dark. And folks, the Vancouver Canucks have not lost a game since we last spoke to you. And I think that might be the first time that has ever happened, except for the offseason, as the Canucks are going on a nice little run here. And as always, joined by my co-host, Canuck Clay. How are you doing tonight, Clay?
Parker, do you even have to ask how I'm doing?
I'm going to guess you're doing pretty good.
I am, and I hope you are well as well. You are looking and sounding better than last week. You were a true trooper last week.
Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. I'm definitely on the upswing. I've got more energy. I was able to talk for like 2 hours today without dying. So we're back in business. I am tired, but hey, you know what? I got some Canucks wins to talk about, so I'll be okay.
Hey, do people at work, by the way, you talk about 2 hours. I presume you're talking about work that you had to do. Do people at work know that you are like the hottest thing on YouTube right now? Or
they have no clue.
Seriously,
no idea. And I'm gonna keep it that way for a while.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really tell anyone about it. But hey, it's all good.
I'm the opposite. My bishop sees me in my Canucks jersey going to the game, and he'll say, "Oh, are you going to your real job now?" I say, "Well, then pay me more." No, I don't say that.
Yeah, I'll quit if you double my salary.
Exactly.
All right. We do have 3 games to talk about. The Canucks won their first game on this 4-game trip on Monday. Last Monday, we did a show that night, which was a very fun show. Our biggest show ever on Canucks After Dark that brought us over the 1,000 subscriber mark. So thank you very much to all of you who have joined in and subscribed. So we have 3 games to talk about, 2 shootout wins and a win last night against Carolina. Of course, there was some other big news that happened this week in Jim Rutherford getting hired as the president of hockey ops here. So we're going to dive into that a little bit. And I mean, not much else happened, really. I think that's the big stuff, but we'll talk about a couple other things. We'll take your questions later on in the show. You guys know the deal at this point. Clay, where do you want to get started tonight?
Well, I actually put up the one finger on purpose, and it was the right finger. By getting over 1,000 subscribers, and yes, thank you to everyone. We appreciate it. It was a pretty quick, actually, ascent over the past few weeks. Does that mean, I'm not saying they have to, but does that mean people can actually donate now and super chat and all that kind of stuff?
It's all on the table. We're not gonna push for it because again, you know, you guys are fairly generous to our own shows that we do on our own live streams, but it is all enabled. We have a poll running that is asking, will the Canucks ever lose again? Both options are no. No is winning with 100% of the vote. So the Vancouver Canucks will never lose again. Keep that in mind as we go. Canucks are now 12-15-2. Is that right?
That's
correct. Is that the right record? 12-15-2 after 4 straight wins, winning 6 of the last 7 games. It all started last Monday, Bruce Boudreau's first game behind the Canucks bench. The Canucks took down the LA Kings in pretty dominant fashion, a 4-0 game, which we already discussed. But we then had the Canucks and Bruins on Wednesday, December 8th. This was about 10 days after the Canucks had lost to the Bruins in Boston, a 3-2 loss there. And this felt like it was the first real test, right, under Bruce Boudreau. It was one where it was like, all right, we got the Bruins. They're not the best team in the world. They're not the team that they once was, but they are still a solid team. And it got a little scary, but the Canucks do pull this one out.
Yeah, it was nice to see them win. I guess the one thing before we talk about how well they played and how good of a game it was is, what's up with Brad Marchand injuring all our defensemen, man?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Brad Marchand might not be a very good guy, is gonna be my hot take. And it's it keeps happening.
Because yes, he slew-foots OEL, serves his suspension, comes back, coincidentally against the Canucks. Then OEL, I think he played this game, but he hasn't played since, right? Or did he even play this game?
I don't know if he did play in this. I don't remember. I am drawing a total blank, but
I am wondering if there's some remnants of that slew-foot.
Yeah,
right?
He is still out. Unfortunately, we'll get to that, of course, more later, and we'll talk about this defense that the Canucks are sort of fielding as a team right now. But this game was one of those games that the Canucks came out. They were aggressive, and that has been, at least for me, when I've been talking about this last week or so, that's sort of my key word for this
Mm.
team and how they're playing is just a whole nother level of aggression. They're faster on pucks. They're more aggressive. They're hitting people. They're shooting the puck a little bit more, even though, may not totally correlate on the shot counter. But it was a good game. It was a fun game. And it was the first fun game of the 3 games we're going to cover.
And yeah, they're all fun. And you're right. OEL did not play that night. So that was the one where, is that the one where Miller passed it through a guy's legs to Besser and he tipped it in?
Yeah, so we had JT Miller sort of firing one from the near wall, the right-hand wall at the stick of Besser. Besser tipped it over the glove of Swayman to make it 1-0. About 5 minutes to go in the second period. A power play goal. Boston tied it up about 5 minutes into the third, also on the power play.
Similar, a tip as well.
Yeah, a similar play, and it's Patrice Bergeron scoring for Boston in the nice little fishbowl that he was rocking there. And then we get this is me starting to care again and having that little inkling of hope, where as the third period's winding down, and we had Tanner Pearson flipping a puck over the glass. I don't know if you remember that. That made me mad, which got instantly negated because Jason Dickinson drew a penalty. But like the last 6 minutes or so of this game, I'm just pacing. I'm like, get the point, get the point, at least get the point. Come on. If they're going to put something together, you got to at least get a point tonight.
Yeah.
And they did. They survived the third period, where Boston had 16 shots in the third period. They make it to overtime. They get through OT, which I think that OT felt like kind of a bit of a snooze fest. Like both teams were kind of playing for a shootout almost, if I remember correctly.
Especially compared to the Friday one, which we'll get to. Yes.
Yeah. And then we go to a shootout and we have, and it's like, all right, we have Elias Pettersson up first for the Canucks, and it's like, okay, is he getting that confidence back? And he like totally flubs his deke. Oh man,
just deked it right into the pads.
Right into the pads. And then Demko stops Pasternak. Then we have JT Miller, who always does like the go in the left side, slowly cut across, and then eventually do something. It works. He scores a really nice goal. And then Coyle was stopped, which gave Horvat the chance to win it. And Horvat just shelved it. And
he doesn't deke, does he? He just likes the quick wrist shot. Yeah.
He just finds it. He finds a spot. He hits the spot. And I mean, if you can put the puck where you want it to go, it's going to work 9 times out of 10. So Canucks win it 2-1 in a shootout, 2 for 3 in the shootout. And the Canucks are then at that point 2-0 under Bruce Boudreau. And that is Stan Smeal's last game as interim GM, a perfect 2-0. So bravo, Stan Smeal.
Amazing. Never to be replicated again, probably.
Well, I will tell you right now, Jim Rutherford is also 2-0. So,
that's true.
So if he gets fired before tomorrow night's game, then we'll have the same scenario.
That's got to be a record. 2, not that he's going to get fired, but yeah. Can you imagine having 2 GMs going 2-0 in one season?
That'd be crazy.
2 weeks.
So that was a good game. The Canucks played well, and again, that sort of aggressiveness, and it was against a team that is, on paper, at least the way the Canucks have been playing this season, it's a team that they should lose to. Like if you just put it in a simulator, Canucks lose that game more than they win that game. But they kept up with the Bruins. They played a good game, and they come out and they get the win, and then they just carry that momentum forward, which takes us to, what was that game? Friday
hosting Winnipeg.
Hosting Winnipeg, a team that the Vancouver Canucks cannot beat at home, seemingly. Until now, have they beat them twice at home this year?
They beat them 3-2 on November 19, and now,
so the Canucks are 2-0 against the Jets at home this year, which has probably never happened. I can guarantee you it's never happened. And the Canucks go into a bit of I was going to say a shootout for lack of a better term, but I mean, it was a high scoring game, an exciting game. And we'll start from the top, and it's Niels Höglander. Was his first goal the good one?
Yes. Very good. Where he fell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His first goal, just in the middle of the ice, like sort of shrugs off a defender, traps the puck, brings it to the backhand, and like shelves it nice. past Comrie, which was sick. Sick first goal. And then the Jets answered. It was Blake Wheeler. with a goal. Blake Wheeler was so scary in that game. If I'm remembering correctly,
that whole
he had
line.
like, I think in like a 4-minute span there, he had like 3 or 4 high danger chances. And then Niels Höglander scored again. I don't remember Höglander's second goal. What happened there?
It was actually against the flow of the play. It was right after Wheeler got his 3 or 4 chances. The Canucks go the other way, and he does. I think it was a wrist shot that went off of.
He shot it right
glove.
off of the pad of the glove, and it just popped over and in.
And those are killers. 20 seconds left in the period. You love them when you score them. You hate it when you give those up. But now Höglander's got 2 goals in the first period, and we're all ready to chuck our hats on if you're wearing a hat. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you get scored on with like 6 minutes left in a period, right? You have the rest of the period to at least sort of forget about it and move on. Like if you go into the first intermission, you're down 2-1, you're like, all right, hey, you know what? We're only down 1. We can get right back in it. But if it's 1-1, then you get scored on with 20 seconds left. You don't really have the chance to sort of get over it.
Right.
And you're just like, oh man, like we were so close. Like 20 more seconds, we survive. It's a 1-1 game. You're just deflated. It really can kill the mood.
So I love it when we do it to other teams as opposed to it happening to us.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Second period kicks off with a Kyle Connor goal. I do want to mention before that, Elias Pettersson ripped one off the crossbar with like that Detroit Red Wings game-esque slap shot from the left side. Oh, that would have been sick. But yeah, I think this one was all Chason, wasn't it? If I remember correctly, he just lost Kyle Connor. Yeah. By the way, Chason did not play the next game after that, so do with that what you will. But then the Canucks scored, I think, a minute later. Connor Garland just went back and answered, got a breakaway. JT Miller, a little stretch pass, faked backhand, just dangled Comrie.
So nice. And it was kind of a prelude, a foreshadowing of what we would see in the shootout, which we'll get to in a second. But yes, a beautiful goal, really good. You know, I've always joked about how bad I am a hockey player, but it's not really a joke. The joke is me. But I don't think I'd even have the wherewithal to stay on side or even get the puck at the right. He made it look easy, but I'm sure there's some skill there, right? Laterally moving, getting the puck, staying on side, and then making those really, really quick moves in tight against Comrie. It was beautiful, beautiful goal.
Absolutely. And then, I also forgot to mention, actually, did I forget to mention? No, it hasn't happened yet. Because the Jets tied it with about 9 minutes to go in the second period, where Kyle Connor made some nice moves. The entire Canucks team looked at this side of the ice, and then Scheifele was over here, and he just scored because no one was paying attention. And then they scored again. Remember that? The Jets led this game 4-3 at one point because they piled on the pressure. The Canucks defense just couldn't get the puck out of the zone. There was like a Hughes giveaway, and then the rebound just goes to Andrew Kopp, who taps it in, and Boudreau just says, no, I'm going to challenge it. He goes, I'm going to challenge this for goalie interference. And goalie interference challenges don't work, right? I hate them because they almost always, like, it has to be egregious for it to get overturned. And if it doesn't, you get a penalty, right?
Double whammy.
Yeah. So it's like, man, like, is he really going to risk it? Like, it's a 4-3 game. The Canucks will probably score another one. They've scored a lot of goals tonight. Like, do you really want to risk it? And then you look at the replay and it's like, oh yeah, he got a knee, like, kind of to the body. Like, he couldn't have, he probably wouldn't have made the save. Like, he probably couldn't have made the save, but he didn't get the chance to. And that's why it didn't count. So Bruce goes 2 for 2 on challenges.
Nice. And then before we get to the shootout and the crazy overtime, the Connor goal and the Scheifele goal, very similar. A cross ice pass where the defensive coverage, actually, this is the one game, I think, the outlier to me from a standpoint of poor defense. I know we'll probably talk about how good Pullman and what the Myers were last night, but on Friday night, they're pretty bad, actually.
Yeah, the defense was not great, and I had Tucker Pullman in my notes for this one. I had
good or bad.
I had Tyler Myers, Tucker Pullman, and Tanner Pearson in my minus column for this game because it was pretty rough. And I mean, that it seems to be the only way that Demko is getting beat, right? Are these like cross ice plays? He's not getting beat easily. Because he let in that one goal on Wheeler, which he probably should have saved if I remember correctly. And then like 2 minutes later, he absolutely robbed Wheeler on that like 2-on-1 that he like stretched over with the glove. And I was like, all right, that makes up for it. That's fine. You're even. But yeah, that overtime.
It was so
insane.
It was so fun, man.
I have I have like 11 lines of things that happened in overtime in a 5-minute period. Like I took notes as it was going. I have like 11 different things.
Give me a couple of them.
So we had Tanner Pearson giveaway leading to a 2-on-1 that Tyler Myers broke up really well.
Yeah.
Then the Canucks went 3-on-2 the other way. Then Dubois was in all by himself and he put it wide. And
Yep.
then Tyler Myers and Tanner Pearson went on a rush and they both got stopped. And that was all in the first 2 minutes. Then we had Winnipeg get a bunch of chances. There was a Kyle Connor shot blocked, then a Morrissey shot, then Kyle Connor who got one through Demko that like changed direction a little bit, that just enough for it to catch the post. And then we had a Nick Ehlers breakaway. And then Ehlers took a penalty. And then the Canucks did nothing on the power play.
Yeah,
and that was kind of it.
That was so maddening, Parker, because the overtime was back and forth, and then you have 49 seconds. You have almost a full minute, 4-on-3 with your four most talented offensive guys, and Hughes, Miller, Besser, and Pettersson. And correct me if I'm wrong, did they even get a shot?
They had one. It was a Quinn Hughes shot that was like no traffic and right at the chest.
Yeah, and that's like I know you played hockey. I pretend to play hockey. We've talked about it before. You can't just simply shoot it every time you get it because it might get blocked. It might go the other way. But 4-on-3 at the end of a game, I think you got to take that chance. I really do.
Yeah, and there's always going to be an open guy 4-on-3. There's always so much ice, right? There's only 7 guys out there. There's normally 10, and 10 guys can fit in one zone. And now you only have 7, right? You can make plays. You can find an open guy. You can skate to open space. But they were just passing it around the outside, not doing anything, not trying to make anything special happen.
Yeah.
Almost as if, they seem to be comfortable going to a shootout. I mean, why wouldn't you when you have Thatcher Demko back there? And I mean, this shootout, it starts with Elias Pettersson again. And I'm thinking, all right, and they even mentioned on the broadcast, they said maybe he should just go in and rip a clapper from the hash marks, right? A la Brian Rolston, right? Just go in, rip a clapper because the deeks aren't working. Yeah. And then what he goes in and does the Forsberg to perfection. And it's disgusting and it's beautiful. And just like the smile and like the whole bench. Did you see Tyler Myers' reaction on the bench?
Yeah.
It was, I saw that. So good. And it was one of those signs that just felt like he's sort of back, right? And I mean, like he's not back all the way, but it was great. And then no one else scored because Thatcher Demko's a wall.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and we talked about this about 5 minutes ago or 5 or 10 minutes ago. The fact that Garland was able to deke out Comrie from in tight, I'm sure these guys are really smart. They observe every single thing. And maybe if PD was on the fence about what movie he was going to do, he said that he knew he was going to do that, but maybe he knew he was going to do that because he knew that he could also deke out Comrie. Comrie's not the biggest guy. He's a decent goalie. All these guys are at least good. They're in the NHL. But I truly think that he saw what Garland could do, and he said, no, I can do a similar type of move and beat him. And he did. He was the only guy who scored in the shootout. Thank goodness.
Yeah. He made it work. And he was the only one that really made a move, right? Miller had a backhand that went off the post, off of Comrie, and then stopped on the goal line, basically. Yeah. And then Horvat just took a shot that didn't go in. But hey, I mean, if it works, it works.
You know what Horvat should do? Actually, well, Horvat went 1 for 2. It's not like he fails miserably on the shootouts. When he's so good with his inside out or outside in move, he should just do that on a penalty shot, even though there's no defender.
Yeah, just like drag it to one side, then pull it quickly to the forehand and go upstairs or something. Like
just confuse the goalie.
As if there's a D-man there. That's
exactly
great. That might work.
That's why I'm not a coach, but that's what I would recommend.
You just ask them like, hey, can someone come play defense for this one? Like you pull out Quinn Hughes or something and he just skates backwards while you're on your penalty shot.
It. I think we're onto something, man. I think we're onto something.
This is a good play. And that takes us to last night, a game that I didn't think the Canucks were going to win. This seemed like, okay, this is the time the streak ends, right?
Yeah.
They get Carolina. Sure. Carolina's on a back-to-back. Sure. They just lost, Sebastian Aho couldn't play, which is unfortunate for them. But I mean, the Canucks don't have Oliver Ekman-Larsson. They don't have Travis Hamonic. They're on this long run and it's not going to be sustainable. They're going to lose at some point. And my thought was the Canucks are going to have to outscore their problems here. And they score 2 goals and win.
That's nuts. Yeah. I was, I was at the game with my season ticket partner Mike and my regular seats, and then my son Sean texted me, and he just says 4 words: Carolina is so fast, because they are.
Yeah,
They are.
they are, and
They're
they didn't look
yeah.
as fast as they normally did last night, but
Mhm.
they are fast, and
Yeah.
that's been their MO. I mean, they were 19-6-1 coming into that game, basically top of the league, like just under it.
Yeah.
Um, but again, another disallowed goal early, where Svechnikov put the stick into the sky and batted it down.
So you mean the
Um,
lumberjack chop is not an allowable move in the
no, yeah, no,
Okay.
they say it's like shoulder or the crossbar. I don't think like 3 feet above your head is allowed. Unfortunately, it would have been cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's all the right people scoring here, right? Like, late in the first period, we have Brock Besser getting his 7th of the year, his 3rd goal in 4 games.
Yep.
Um, from Miller and Pearson with a minute and a half to go, and
Yep.
it's a shot, right? I mean, it's Tanner Pearson kind of like poking it to Besser, who kind of pokes it to Miller, gives it back to Besser, and he just shoots it, and it's a great shot, sort of far post, just inside the post. Most goalies aren't saving that when it's that quick.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it feels like Brock Besser is Brock Besser again.
Yeah, not only is the Besser shot was really good, especially compared to the tip that he did on Wednesday night. This was an actual shot. But the other thing that was really cool about the Sparkers, I've always said that JT Miller is such an underrated passer. He is such a good hockey IQ that especially from the circles down, even from the goal line area, which that pass was from, he is so good, got great vision. And Besser, I think, even joked in the post game. He said he just knew that was give and go. He knew Miller was going to get it back to him, so he just got ready to shoot it.
Yeah, the one exception is on the power play when he's on the far wall and he tries to sauce it across everybody.
Yes,
That's the
but I
one
think
exception.
well, I think there's something in the water because Besser tries that. Petey is so maddening, but yeah, let's stay
Yeah.
positive at least for now. Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah. And then we get the Canucks scoring, but again, about 7.5 minutes into the second period, and it's Tyler Myers. Just he does this every like 6 games where he's just like, I am going to push the puck way away from everybody with my
Yep.
8-foot long hockey stick and just sort of swerve back and forth past everybody. And suddenly it's a 4-on-2 where he just sort of taps it to Garland, who finds Pettersson as the trailer. They get
Yeah.
enough depth that draws the defenseman down, and Pettersson just shoots it. He just shoots it. He's got his stick back. He just shoots it over the glove of Ronta. It's 2-1. Were you chanting? Were you in on the Bruce There It Is chants?
Of course. That I actually grew up. I was alive when that song was popular. In fact, I would dance in my, homie G jeans and everything to that song. So yes, I was chanting for sure.
Yeah, no, and I mean, he mentioned after the game, he's like, that stupid song or whatever, but I mean, come on.
Actually, Parker, I have a question for you and for maybe type this in the chat. You don't have to type it up as a poll, but I'm just curious. Honestly, do you think that Boudreaux actually knows the songs it's referring to, the whoop there it is, whoop there it is, or do you think he just thinks the fans made that chant up? What do you actually think?
I think he knows. I think he's trying to be kind of humble. Um,
Right.
like he's trying to sort of push it off and be like, look, it's the players that are going out there and
Right.
playing well, right? Like I'm just
Right.
standing on the bench, right?
Yes.
Which is kind of fair, but also like the team looks entirely different.
Yes.
Which is the big key there. And then
Yeah.
that takes us. What happens after that?
They get one.
Yeah, nothing else really happens in the second period. Carolina put some pressure on. And then, yeah, they make it a 1-goal game. It's sort of the aggressive attempt to hold the line from Kyle Burrows. It hops over his stick. It's a 2-on-1. Brad Hunt is your last man back, which isn't an ideal scenario. Misses the pass. Natchez makes a nice little move.
Yes.
And
that's how you say his name.
I think so, yeah. And normally I would have been getting really nervous here if I didn't already know the result before I watched it, because I was at a hockey game last night. But yeah, like this felt like, okay, the Carolina's gonna get a power play, and then they're gonna score, and then we're gonna hang on to go to overtime and a shootout again, and but they didn't. Horvat did take a penalty, the one penalty the Canucks took last night. But they killed it off. Demko made some saves. And I mean, the Canucks just hang on to win.
That power play was scary because it being there, we saw it happening. The whole team got hemmed in, all 4 penalty killers, and only Miller got off for Podkolzin. So some of those killers were out there for almost the entire 2 minutes. That was pretty scary for sure.
Yeah, and it had all the feelings of like, okay, it's bound, one's bound to go in here.
Yes.
Also, I do love Podkolzin going for the empty net and getting absolutely decked. And Carolina almost scored the other way. Like it was quick enough that would have been in the highlight too.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you hate that.
Don't you think if this was last week before all the changes, that would have been a goal for sure?
Oh,
right?
absolutely. And they would have scored another one before time expired. Like it would have been, they would have scored 2 quick ones. They would have won in regulation.
It's the most Canucks thing ever. If
Yeah.
that would have happened, but yeah. And then did you see the fist bump video at the end? And he asked Boudreau asked Podkolzin if he was okay. That was good.
Yeah. It's great. So Canucks survive this game, their only regulation win in the past week, other than that Monday game that we already sort of went over last week. And just so much good stuff to talk about here. And I talked about a lot of it last night. And I mean, I still have my list here. So I want your big keys to the week. Like you watch this week. What are your overall thoughts?
My overall thoughts is I don't think the Canucks quit on Travis Green. I think they have too much pride to do so, but I do think he lost the room and he wasn't able to make changes. You're always going to get a shot in the arm with a breath of fresh air or whatever word you want to use with Boudreau coming in. But I think very quickly he made a couple of tweaks to their games where there was a forechecking system or an aggressiveness on the penalty kill. So it was Boudreau that instills new systems that leads to confidence. And I think it's those 3 things, and they all work hand in hand. It actually all traces back to Boudreau. To me, that's what I see. I see a team that's more structured, and therefore they're playing with much more confidence. And that's why they're able to beat a team like Carolina at home. So those are the things I see. And then, of course, whether it's the mic'd up with Connor Garland or you see Besser smiling so from ear to ear after he scores, it seems like the Canucks are having fun, and I think they believe. And we can get into the math later. It's still not the prettiest picture, but
yeah,
I'd much rather win 4 in a row than lose 4.
Yes, we've had the lose 4 already. We've been there. I think we did a show already once where the Canucks hadn't won between shows, which it's just sad. There's no fun there. No one's gonna show up for that. Yeah, I mean that does seem to be it, right? And it's not like they've even had like enough time to instill these like systems, right?
Sure.
But it's sort of just an overall identity, and it's like it's like a theme that was instilled, not necessarily a system. It's a theme of we're going to go after the puck as hard as we can, no matter what, and you're gonna get off right when you're done, right? If it's on the penalty kill, we're gonna have 1 penalty kill in this game against Carolina, and we're gonna have 8 different forwards out during it. Like that's crazy, right? You're having 20 seconds and new guys are on. Yeah. You're not dumping it and then waiting for guys to come in. New guys on, pressure, come off, new guys on, right? It's this mentality that, and the issue is everyone has to buy into it, because if someone gets lazy, other people start to get lazy, and it's a real, like, everyone really has to buy in. And that's a big thing about coaching, right? It seems that Bruce Boudreau has really gotten everyone to buy into this idea of, hey, what we were doing before wasn't working. Let's go as hard as we can and let's make our own luck, right? Let's go out there and work harder than the other team, get shots, get hits, do all this stuff, and hopefully it works. And it has so far.
Great points, Parker. And 2 other things I'd like to point out. I think one of them, the guys that are scoring right now are the guys that should be scoring. Besser, Pettersson, Miller, Garland, and Lamico had one in there. But really, it's the big guns that are scoring. That's what I like to see. I think Boudreau's going to ride his horses, so to speak. And therefore, more minutes means more opportunities to score. The other thing is, aside from the scary Winnipeg game, got to give props to this defense that are doing it without 2 of their top 4 in OEL and Hamonic. Myers and Pullman, as much as they had a poor game on Friday, they were beasts yesterday. Didn't Pullman block 7 shots or something?
7 shots he was credited. I think 1 was generous because he scored it. It was a pass that he blocked. Okay. It was like a pass to the back door. But hey, I think it was like they credit him with 3 blocked shots. Because remember, Shorty said on the broadcast that Pullman had 4 blocked shots with about 3 minutes left. Okay. And then I looked after and he had 7. So he blocked, he was out there the entire last 2 minutes, blocked 3 shots. Wow. Which is great. Yeah. 7 blocks is a crazy high number. And for all of the grief I've given Pullman and sort of everyone as a whole has given Pullman, because he hasn't been great so far. Last night he was really good when he had to be. They needed him to be good. They needed Tyler Myers to be good. And Tyler Myers has been really good, surprisingly lately. Quinn Hughes is only getting better. Kyle Burrows is holding his own. Luke Shen is actually good. Brad Hunt, I am not very confident on, but he's sort of my one guy that like, hey, well, once we can get Hamonic or OEL or Rathbone into the lineup, take Hunt out, then I think we're okay.
You're right. The pecking order, the reverse pecking order, so to speak, once guys come back, Hunt falls off first because he was the last to come in. And then it's probably, of course, Burrows. And then you're back to your normal top 6. And then I guess Shen would be next, but we'll worry about that later. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Shen has been impressive.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, on the forward side, you mentioned the big guns are scoring. The guys who need to score are scoring, right? We have the game from Elias Pettersson last night, which was much more Elias Pettersson-esque, right? He draws the only penalty that Carolina takes, just using his speed and his effort, right? Guy holds him because he had to. We have him, firing shots. We have him hard on the forecheck, hitting people. Like, Elias Pettersson is looking so much different than he did, a week and a half ago, even a week ago, right? I mean, the big game that everything broke was 9 days ago.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, and like the mentality's changed so much.
It's so crazy too, because obviously, what's strange is they actually beat Montreal and Ottawa heading into that game. So it's not they've won 4 in a row. They've won 6 out of the last 7, and 3 of those were under green. 2 of those wins were under green.
Yeah, the Canucks were 6-14-2. Like now they're 12-15-2, right? Like 6 of the last 7 is big. And it can really, start to bring that hope back up, right? Bruce Boudreau has said, win the week, right? You win enough weeks, eventually you're back in it. But if you can go out there and go 4-0 in a week, I mean, that's just gravy, right? That means you can afford to lose a week later. So if they can keep this up, and the schedule's a little scary coming up here. I think I heard on the post game as I was driving home last night on 650, they mentioned like 9 of the next Canucks 18 games are against teams that are top 10 in the NHL right now. Right. So they have basically the entire top 10 of the NHL in their next 18 games. So this is the real test. This was a good test, right? All at home, but a lot of teams on back-to-backs. Good teams though: Boston, Carolina, Winnipeg. But now they're getting, they're getting the Torontos of the world. They're getting some scary teams here pretty soon. Eventually, start of the new year, they get the Panthers, the Lightning, the Hurricanes, the Capitals all in a row. Right? There's gonna be some scary times in there if they don't pull out some wins.
I've heard that stat too about the strength of their opponents, but I do think December there's still some Winnipeg games because they're winnable games, because you got a Kraken game in there, you have another one against the Kings, 2 against the Sharks, and 1 against Arizona. So in the remaining 9 games, imagine this, Parker. Imagine if the Canucks go 6-3, which is not out of the realm of possibility. They go 6-3. Can you believe this? They're back at 500 to start the new year.
Right, and then we're talking about a team that needs to win like 6 games more than it loses the way out, right? Like it's like the math gets a lot easier once if you go on a good run here. And again, it is a big ask for them to go 6-3, right? They could just as easily go 3-6, right? And then everything's off the rails again. But who knows? Maybe it works out.
Wow. I got a funny feeling just thinking about it.
Yeah,
in a good way.
The math isn't great, right?
No.
There's still a team that is 12-15-2. They are still, there was no games on tonight, which is surprising.
Weird.
But the Canucks have 26 points. They're 6 points out of a playoff spot, but like the Oilers have games in hand. Everyone has games in hand that's ahead of them, basically.
So Parker, the way I figured out, if they go 6-3, so let's say they're at 500 at the end of this, then they're 38 points in 38 games, right? Technically, they got to go 2 or 3 games over 500 in each of the 4 months, because you need 94 points, which is 12 points over 500. right? So
Yeah,
technically they got to win 12. So they basically got to go 2 or 3 games over 500 for each of the 4 months, which when you break it down like that, it's not impossible, but it's still a big.
it's not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Athletic has them up to 3%.
So what
They
are they
were
at now?
3. They were at
Oh,
1. They're now at 3. Um,
Dang, I was
but
hoping for
again,
double
I mean,
digits.
you think about it, it doesn't weight these last 4 games more than the previous games, right?
Course.
Which is fair.
Yes.
We are going to weight these last 4 games more. 1, recency bias. 2, new coach, new GM, just a new feeling, right? So we are going to say, well, I think, because selfishly I want this to be true, that this team we're seeing now is the team we're going to get the rest of the way. And then you think, okay, this is a team that can pull something out and at least make it interesting down the stretch.
Is it crazy, Parker? Then it show, as we talk about that they have to do this just to make the playoffs. That just shows how much of a hole they put themselves in so early. It's crazy.
Yeah, 6-14 is, they had won 6 out of 16 games when we did one of these shows. I distinctly remember. I think that was my was that a thumbnail? If I look here, we had one that was 6 wins, 13 losses was a thumbnail. And then we did our next show when they had 6 wins and like 16 losses or whatever it was. So yeah, it was a tough, some tough sledding there.
I'll save this for when we talk about Jim Rutherford, but I'll just say it's probably, we always say this, the truth is somewhere in the middle. We weren't as bad as those 20 game show, but I don't know. Are we as good as a 4-0 team this past? Maybe we are. I don't know. But that's Rutherford's job to figure that out, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we can get into that now. I think we're right about that time that we can talk about Jim Rutherford being brought in as president of hockey operations. When did this happen? Was this
Thursday?
Friday? Thursday?
Thursday they announced it. Yeah.
Thursday. So this was 3 days after after Francesco Aquilini said they were going to do a long, exhaustive search.
Very exhaustive.
I think it came out today that, like, I don't think it was, I think someone just sort of reported it that, like, Jim Rutherford was Jim Benning's guy or was Francesco Aquilini's guy. And he didn't fire Jim Benning until he had already, like, he was waiting until he got a yes from Jim Rutherford before hiring Jim Benning. So this whole long and exhaustive search thing for the GM, maybe, but this part was sort of a facade, it seems like. But that's besides the point. Let's talk about Jim Rutherford, Hall of Fame builder, has spent forever in the NHL. How long has he been a GM? Like forever? I think literally forever is the correct terminology, right?
Didn't he do close to 20 years in Carolina?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Hartford, Carolina, 20 years, and then 7 years in Pittsburgh. So that's a long time. That's longer than you've been born. I mean,
it is
not born alive
by a lot. So he took over as Hartford's president and GM in 94, 95.
Yeah.
Right.
So 20 years,
which is before I was born. He was there until 2014, and then he moved over to Pittsburgh, where he's been until January when he resigned. And then now he is here as of 4 days ago.
Yeah. So a few things. I will say it'll be interesting if they ever sort out the timeline between Smeo, Rutherford, Benning, Green, Boudreau, because it's kind of confusing to figure out until you realize that, yes, Benning was that Aquilini was talking to Rutherford all along. And Rutherford even said in his press conference that he actually delayed his yes, but Aquilini was willing to wait for him. Having said all that, yes, he led the Carolina Hurricanes to a Stanley Cup as a GM. He led the Pittsburgh Penguins to 2 Stanley Cups as a GM. So you can't argue with 3 cups. And whether you're GM, president, whatever, you're part of building something special. The biggest takeaway for me today, Parker, was it sounds like he's going to focus on building his hockey operations team before he worries about tinkering with the lineup. He's admitted he's gotten trade calls and offers already, or at least interest. But he said, I want to see what happens in December and January. And I think he wants to build his staff first before he starts to look at trading players.
Yeah, and I think that's the right approach, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a team you're not really familiar with. It's players you're not really familiar with, right? Like, if you were someone completely on the outside, you might have joined the team and like, okay, well, I've heard that JT Miller's bad in the room, and we already got some calls on JT Miller. Okay, maybe this is a move we make right off the bat, right? Try to heal the room. When in
Yes.
reality, that would probably be a terrible move right now, right? So I think, that's definitely the right play to wait it out, get familiar with the team, and bring in a supporting cast, right? They got rid of Chris Gear and Jonathan Wall this week, which seem to have been Aquilini decisions entirely,
Right.
and Jim Rutherford seems to really not be backing Aquilini at all during this process. I was like, you have to ask Francesco about
Yeah,
that. I never met those guys.
he
Which
literally
I
passed the
thought was
buck.
funny. Yeah. And I thought that was really odd considering that Chris Gear was named as like someone on the AGM squad before Rutherford joined 3 days later. And they're like, all right, by the way, you're gone.
That whole, I think, do you want to do the recognition of our first ever super chat?
Oh, I didn't see. Oh, it just came in now. It came in earlier for you. Yeah, we'll give a shout out to Justin. Does it come in here? Oh, it does. I can pull it up. Justin with the $10 super chat. Thank you very much, Justin.
Yes, that's awesome.
And I love your profile picture with Clay. That's great.
Oh, that's worth another $10. Oh, sorry.
Well,
maybe I have to pay. Maybe I have to pay.
I think that's how it works. Had to rejoin late work. Congrats to both of you for 1K. Keep up the great Canucks content here and on both of your channels as well. 1K subs. Bruce, there it is. Go Canucks, go. Thank you very much, Justin. Back to Rutherford. Where were we? What were we? Oh, we were talking about Gear and Wall.
Yeah, the craziness of those announcements and the timing and.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel if you're Chris Gear, right? I mean, we saw it in his sort of note that he put on Twitter. No mention of Francesco Aquilini. Keep in mind, he had worked in the organization forever, right? Said nothing about the owner who had just fired him, which I thought was kind of interesting. And Chris Gear, at least made it seem on his end, in his posting that he was he was like the RFA contract guy, which is a position that, even if it's not true, it's one you'd like to put yourself in because their RFA contracts have been better than their UFA contracts, right?
He did a great job.
So if he can plausibly deny that was his doing, or plausibly say it was his doing, like, yeah, own it, right? So that's what he sort of said and things like that. And then Jonathan Wall, we didn't hear anything from, but he was sort of the analytics guy.
Yes.
Which I don't know. Does that mean anything? Like the Canucks haven't been like very analytics focused, it seems, right? We've never heard Jim Benning talk about the analytics or anything like that. So I don't know. Did he do all that much? Like, did Jim Benning I'm sure he did work every day, but did Jim Benning listen to what he said anyways? I don't know.
Right. That's a fair way to put it. And yes, we'll give Jonathan Wall certainly the benefit of the doubt. Even if he told Benning what to say, I don't think Benning would be able to articulate honestly. Right. If you're trying to explain, and they got Ryan Beach in there, a former writer, and so I think Ryan Beach is good with analytics. So who knows? And maybe the GM that they bring in is going to be a heavy analytics-driven guy. We'll see. But yes, I just think, Parker, it was crazy because when they made the changes and when they let go of Benning and Weisbrod, they talked about this 5-man thing of Ryan Johnson, Chris Gear, Stan Smeel, and the Sedins. And then 3 days later, one of those guys is gone. One of those guys is not the interim GM anymore, even though, even though they haven't hired their permanent one, he was replaced by another interim GM. So it was a little bit strange. And then you get Smeel going on TV, basically trying to sort it all out in real time as he's being interviewed. It was crazy. It was a weird week.
Yeah, it's this organization's always been a little messy, right? Like I think that's fair to say. They don't really do things by they're not very organized, it feels like, right? Yeah. Whether it's the firings of Green and Benning getting leaked well before them putting a release out at like 10:30 p.m. or whatever it was, right? Like all the way to this. It seems like they're just sort of like chasing the news cycle. But it at least makes things a little entertaining for us.
And it's such whether it's a juxtaposition or whatever word you want to call it, that they seem so focused and structured on the ice. And yet you have all this weird stuff off the ice. And it's not bad. It's not scandalous. It's just strange. It really is.
Yeah, it is just strange. Anything else you want to talk about on the Rutherford side? I mean, I'm sure you listened to his availability today.
I did. Yeah.
I just read some of the tweets afterwards.
Sure. One thing I will bring up, Parker, is when he talked about assessing the talent without prompting, he mentioned Thatcher Demko right away. He mentioned Thatcher Demko and he said, we have an elite goaltender. He said a good team, a contending team starts with an elite goaltender, and we have that. And he didn't rattle off the contract numbers. We know this is you're number 1 out of 5 at $5 million, which is
already
awesome.
a steal.
Right. And then the next question was about Hughes and Petey. And he really quickly, Parker, he said for Hughes, he goes, there's all different types of defensemen. You don't have to be the big rugged guy, clear the front of the net anymore. He goes, if you're good enough to skate to the puck and get it out of the zone before the offense does, that's a good defenseman. So he goes, we have one in Hughes. He didn't call him elite, but he was basically saying how good he was. And then for Petey, he said, he's coming around. He'll be fine. I have no worries about him. So those are the 3 guys that he spoke about specifically. That makes sense. You're probably your 3 cornerstones right now.
Mm-hmm. And he mentioned, one of his big things was, or the thing that got a lot of play was, he's like, yeah, we're not trading any high picks, right? We're not trading any first or second round picks because this team's not in a state to do that. Now, keep in mind, the Canucks have done that twice under Jim Benning in the last couple of years. So I don't know, do with that what you will, but he's sort of come in here and been like, all right, yeah, no, they're not ready. Let's keep those first rounders for a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of funny.
And without throwing Benning under the bus, he talked about the challenging salary cap situation that the Canucks are in, basically dollar in for dollar out. It's not like you can bring in a superstar on a big contract because you have no money to do so. So that's going to be very challenging just to get out from underneath that problem, especially as they want to build and who knows what's going to happen. I'm so fascinated to see what happens when it comes closer to the trade deadline. If the Canucks are knocking on the door, do you stay the course and not wreck anything? Do you actually say realistically we're not going to go that far and try and recoup assets, or do you go the other way? Which I don't know if he's going to do, but he likes to trade. This is the true trader, Jim.
I was reading an article. I think it was from what's his name, the guy who covers the Penguins for The Athletic.
Oh yeah,
he's not going to see this, so I guess I shouldn't feel too bad about forgetting his name. It's like Travis something, I think. Travis something. I don't know. Either way, he had a good article on like what the Canucks should expect from Jim Rutherford. Okay. And he put a stat out there. He's like, over Jim Rutherford's like 7-year tenure with the Pittsburgh Penguins, he averaged 1 trade per month. Like 12 trades a year consistently, right? That's what, like 84 trades in 7 years. That's a ton. Wow. That's 2 rosters. That's like almost 2 50-man rosters in that 7 years just of trades alone. So it'll be exciting.
Awesome.
It's scary, but it'll be exciting. All right. Do we want to take some questions? We got 13 minutes left here. Was there any other topics you wanted to hit on before we?
Any other Canucks stuff?
I don't think there is much.
Okay.
So this is a good time for you guys to get your questions in, questions, topics, things that you want us to talk about. Clay, I know you've been sort of keeping up with the chat a little bit, over time.
Actually, let's do, before we do questions, are you worried about COVID vis-a-vis Calgary, Carolina, Olympics, just overall? Are we on the cusp of something bad?
Yeah, I think from what we've heard of like the new variant that's going around, it's like less bad, but more transmissible, which is one of those things that if everything's based on number of cases, things are going to get dicey, right? We had Carolina have to leave a few players. I know Seth Jarvis was one of them, having to stay in Vancouver because of COVID. And he played last night.
Great. Awesome.
Right. So that's a worry. And they had just gotten it from Calgary seemingly. So I wouldn't, I'd be a little nervous. Now the Canucks play a home game next, right? They play a home game tomorrow against Columbus, but then they travel to the States. They go to San Jose on Thursday. That's where I get a little worried. As for the Olympics, my confidence in things going well there has fallen off a cliff. And I had a banner for this because it is, because I was going to talk about it, but we kind of ran a little low on time, but we'll still sort of touch on it.
Sure.
Someone asked me last night, do you think Demko will go and be like the starter for Team USA? And I said, I hope not. Right. It would be great. And it would be cool. But from what we're hearing, if you test positive, it's between 3 and 5 weeks potentially that you have to quarantine in China. Right. Let's say let's say like you test positive like right near the end. Like let's say like semifinals, you test positive and you have to spend 5 weeks. You have to spend all of March.
Yeah.
Right? This is the stretch, right? If the Canucks are at all in it, that's the stretch. Those are the games you need Thatcher Demko, Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, Brock Besser, JT Miller. Like you need all of those guys to be in your lineup. And that's scary.
Can you imagine if, and I don't believe in jinx and superstition, so don't come back to me if something bad happens and say it was because of me. I don't believe in that stuff. But can you imagine if the big five make the US team? They all five won't, but imagine Hughes, Besser, Garland, Miller, and Demko all there. And you're right, not playing until the end of March.
Yeah, it would be a disaster. It would cripple any team.
Yes.
Right. So that is a big worry of mine. And it's up to the players individually. So we're going to see if they don't get that straightened out and get it down to like a week or like private charters back and you're fine. Then it's not going to happen, which is sad because I've been very excited for some good Olympic hockey.
2018 just didn't feel the same, did it?
No, it was terrible. All right. Questions. Wow, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's been a lot about Bruce. There it is. Your thoughts?
That's fun. Have some fun. The team's being good. Team's having fun. Let's have some fun.
Yep.
Do we want to do our predictions for the week?
Sure.
All right. Predictions for the week. We have 4 games. We have Columbus tomorrow night at home, San Jose on the road, Toronto and Arizona back to back. Let's start Columbus Canucks tomorrow night. Do they make it 5 in a row?
What did you predict last week? I'm asking. I can't remember if you predicted. I know I went positive. I must have. I don't know.
I feel like I might have said 3-0 to be dumb, but I also might have said 1-2. So I have no recollection of it.
Okay. We'll look it up later. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tomorrow night, Columbus, Vancouver, you're saying a win. I'm going to go on the same page. I think Columbus isn't going to be the team to break it. I think they either lose tomorrow and win against San Jose or they win both. I mean, San Jose, I'm just saying it's a win. They're going to go to San Jose. They're going to beat San Jose. So we're both at 2-0 so far. Here's where it gets tricky. They have Toronto, the best team in the league right now, on Saturday, 4 p.m. Perfect time for Toronto to play hockey. And then they have Arizona the next day. So it's a back-to-back, which means you're playing Demko in one, you're playing Halak in one. I want to start with this question. Who do you start in each game?
You go Demko on Saturday night.
See, yeah, so that's like the easy answer. But what if you mind game it and say, well, we're probably going to lose against Toronto anyways. We don't want Halak blowing the Arizona game. We don't want to get lit up by Louis Eriksson.
Right. So there, I know you're trying to draw a conversation, but there are 3 things you said wrong there. Number 1, no, not wrong. Yeah, I hope that you're wrong. Blown up by Louis Eriksson, that Halak's gonna be a lot worse than Demko, and I can't remember the first. So I understand that reasoning is almost, you'd think that Demko's a guaranteed win against Arizona, and you think no matter who you play potentially against Toronto that you're gonna lose. So why not save Demko? But maybe if the Canucks win on Columbus and San Jose, they're playing with such confidence. They're 6 in a row now, 8 out of the last 9, that they're going to knock off Toronto. Although if you're forcing me to make a prediction that I believe in my heart of hearts, I think they lose to Toronto, as much as that would pain me, and that they beat Arizona. So I'm going 3-1 for this week.
I agree there. I think the one way they lose to, or the one way they beat Toronto is Demko just stopping like 39 of 40. And I think that's their win condition. I could see them going 2-2. I could see them dropping this game to Columbus, maybe. I'm going to say they're either 3-1 or 2-1-1. Okay. I could see that Columbus game going to OT or a shootout. We had so many shootouts lately that I wouldn't be too surprised.
Yeah, Columbus is okay. They've dropped a bit, 29 points in 26 games. Exact opposite of us. We're 26 points in 29 games. And then who else we got? San Jose. They're falling a little bit, right?
Yeah, we're catching 2 teams going the opposite direction from the Canucks here, but Toronto is so hot right now.
Yes, they are a good team, and then Arizona is the worst in the league. So, okay, yeah, I like your 2-1-1. I'll turn up the optimist meter a little bit and go 3-1.
I think that's fair.
It's been fun though.
It sure has been. Let's see, what other questions do we got here?
Yeah, actually, there are a bunch. Then we just skipped all of them, but that's okay.
I'm scrolling through. I'm trying to catch them, but I am struggling a little bit.
Okay. How
Wow.
about are you okay jumping up all the way to like 10:48 p.m. or
That's
so?
around what I'm looking still. Yeah. What do
Okay.
you want? Give
Let's
me a
go oh, I saw it. Mark King, Besser, spelling sorry. Is he gone due to contract issues and cap at 10? Yeah, you got it.
I
I'll
don't think
start
so.
because
Go ahead.
actually if you're ready,
No,
go
go
for it.
ahead. Nope. No, it's all you.
Is he gone due to contract issues and cap? If you look at Besser, 7.5 qualifying offer. If you look at Miller and Horvat, likely due for $6.5 to $7 million contracts as well. I don't know. I don't think you can pay all three guys $7.5 million. I do think one of them has to go. Miller, I think we talked about this last week. Miller would be such an attractive option for a team. I don't think you trade Horvat as your 2C and as your captain. Besser's the tricky one because his game's starting to ramp up now. Okay, I got to make a decision. Is he gone? I'm gonna say no.
I agree. The answer here is JT Miller, and it's just age. Right? That's literally it. Because I
Yes.
think you get similar returns for each of them, to be
Yep.
honest. And I think Besser is more valuable down the road. And it really comes down to JT Miller is on a really attractive contract that he will get a big raise from after next season.
Mhm.
So you can ride this whole season out and you can trade him after. He'll still have a lot of value. Or if things fall apart, you can trade him at the deadline and get a haul for a team that wants to make a playoff run for the next 2 seasons, right? I
Yes.
think it's so much easier to move Miller than it is, and it's easier to sell moving Miller than it is to move Besser.
Mhm. I agree with you. I think that's a good take for sure. For sure.
That is my opinion. Um, let's see here. Rob talking about Pedersen's stick, how we got the manufacturing issue from Bauer. Can we sue Bauer? Can Francesco go after Bauer hockey? I'll be honest. I own a lot of Bauer hockey gear.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw it all out. I'm gonna burn all of it because
Mm.
they've cost the Canucks their season.
So the long and short of it, he said that he thought that he got much stronger, but he was
He's
using the
just been
wrong
hitting the
stick.
gym too hard. You know, he was like, I've just been getting so jacked that these
Yeah.
sticks are too flimsy now. No, it turns out Bauer just had a bad run, which is so funny. That's so funny that he wouldn't be like, man, the stick feels weird. Like, maybe I'll call my Bauer rep or something, right? Like, you think that might be an option? No, it's like, no, I've been in the
Yeah.
gym.
I've been rehabbing my wrist so well that I'm just
Yeah, so many wrist curls. Like, I just got so much snap going here.
love it. How
I
about
thought
the
that was really
the
funny.
two below it, Edmund? Do you think the Flames and the Oilers will cool down? So if you had to pick one of these two teams, who would the Canucks have a better chance of catching?
Man, I think Calgary is looking better right now.
Yeah.
But man, I have so much trouble betting against Draisaitl and McDavid
Yeah.
because
They've lost 5 in a row.
they are struggling right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I mean, a week from now we're going to be talking about how McDavid has 12 points in his last 4 games again, and they're on a big run, right? Like, I think the Oilers' biggest issue is goaltending, and
Yeah.
that's something the Flames have down, right? The Flames have Markstrom and Vladar, who have been excellent for them. If the Oilers can get some good goaltending and their defense can shore up a bit, and they can just let McDavid and Draisaitl each score 2 goals a game, they'll be doing great. I think they're going to be. My worry is that they're both going to do just good enough to sort of stay above each other and sort of trade wins back and forth, and both finish with like 95 points, which could give the Canucks some issues.
Yeah. I think if you're hoping the Canucks make the playoffs, I think those are two teams. I'm not sure if those are the teams you're catching, but then if you don't think Vegas is going to falter, but they're only going to get better,
You
then
need Anaheim to fall.
it's got to be Anaheim. But they're at the top now. It's crazy.
They're at the top, but they've played a lot more games. Right? They've played
Yes.
4 more games than Edmonton has, and they have 5
True.
more points.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
And if there's any, I mean, Anaheim, they've been really good, but I'm not buying in to this Anaheim team. I mean, John Gibson's great. Troy Terry's been excellent. Zegras has been crazy.
Yes.
But man, I could see them falling off.
I'm with you. Okay, Canucks to catch the Ducks for the wild card spot. You heard it here.
They're
first.
only 11 points back with a game in hand. The Canucks have a game in hand.
Yes,
So it's like 9 points back. It's a guaranteed win.
Easy.
Oh, that's great. Raro saying, if the Canucks were going to make a push for the wild card, who would we even hope to face? Well, you're hoping to get wild card 2, right? That's what you're shooting for, right? You're trying to sneak in and get wild card 2, which means you are playing the top of the conference, which right now would be Minnesota.
Yeah.
It could very well be Colorado by then. Colorado's 16-7-2. It could be St. Louis. It's probably not going to be Nashville, I don't think. But I mean, you're looking at one of like the Wild or the Avalanche, or if Vegas goes on a run,
Right.
once Eichel's in or something, that could be an option as well.
Exactly. There's two parts to this question because we have to realistically say, well, who's going to finish at the top of each of the two divisions, right? Because you're going to have to face the one of those two teams. And then once you establish that, is who will the Canucks have the best chance against? I would say I don't know. Minnesota's good, but they don't. I know Kaprizov's good, but they don't scare me, man. I don't know. Have we played them yet this year?
Yeah, the Wild are weird because they haven't been great ever.
Yeah.
Like literally ever. The Wild beat the Canucks 3-2 on October 26th.
Okay. Seems like different,
which was years ago. Alex Chason scored that game, by the way. So to let you know what era that was. Yeah. I don't know. I don't see Minnesota staying there. Colorado is on a 4-game winning streak. They are on an absolute heater. They have 109 goals in 25 games. They're averaging more than 4 goals a game. Tops in the league by a good chunk. Although Minnesota has 106 goals in 28 games. That's crazy. I could see it being something like the Avs for sure.
Yep, that's fair.
And then we probably have time for one more. Maybe
sure.
2. Edmund asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you with the Rutherford Boudreau era? Now, this is kind of tricky because I think these eras, actually, they're both. I was going to say these eras probably don't fully overlap, but Rutherford's pretty old. It could be like 3 years of each of them, really.
Yeah, he signed for 3, and then Boudreau has the 2. One of them's an option, but I'm really kidding. He's gonna, he'll be here. Yeah.
I mean, let's assume it's the next couple of years, right?
Okay.
I mean, so far we have had no reason to have much doubt, right? Other than the past, right? We have Boudreau's past of being a great regular season coach who collapses in the playoffs. We have Rutherford's record of having sort of middling teams that have these random runs where they win cups. That sounds good to me with what we've seen so far. I'm going to say I'm sitting at a good 7.5 right now.
Man, that's why we get along so well, and that's why we have a good show. I was actually thinking the exact same number, but for the sake of conversation, I'll give it an 8.
My only fear is who gets hired as GM.
Yes, that could sway the number.
That's the big fear, right? Like we've heard so many scary names, right? If it's a Mark Bergevin, I drop to a 4. If it's a Jason, if it's Botterill, I drop to a 0. If it's one of these up and coming like a Chris McFarland from Colorado is sort of the one name that gets pushed a lot, then I'm up to like an 8.5, right? It really depends on that because I'm really scared of Rutherford, who has said he has 40 GM candidates today.
Yes.
If it's, I'm sure Botterill's on that list, and that's scary to me, because I don't want anyone who's touched Buffalo, to be frank.
Yeah, the Skinner contract. 40 potential GM candidates, all grouped in different tiers and different. So maybe Botterill's in his own tier, as in, let's not go after this guy. We'll see. I like Chris McFarland. There's a guy I've been talking about named Eric Tulsky out of Carolina, who's a big analytics guy. Well, so anyone that fits that kind of profile, a little bit younger than Boudreau and Rutherford would be nice.
Yeah, we have a very old front office right now. If we can get a guy in his 50s, literally 15 years younger than either of them, then that might be good.
Not a lot of hair in our front office right now.
No. Yeah, I think that's a big thing, right? I want someone because if you have 32 GMs and they all think the game the same way, you're never going to get an edge, right?
Right.
If it's a bunch of 70-year-old men who all want big body, you know, John Tortorella, don't flip the puck over the net because it's bad for the game. You know, this sort of thing. It's like, well, you need to do something different. There's so many teams that try to chase the model of whoever won the Stanley Cup, right?
Yeah.
We had Jim Benning basically try to replicate Boston and St. Louis, right?
Oh.
Big body, big hitting, physical, Eric Branson style hockey.
Well,
But it's like, but every time that happens, the team that then wins is an entirely different breed. And then you're always sort of chasing and I want someone innovative, someone who's going to try new things, who's going to do something interesting, and hopefully put a team together that can win some hockey games.
Amen. Let's do one last one to wind up, and I think we can help Shannon. Go to 11:02 p.m., please. What are you talking about when you say wild card? Shannon, really quickly, there's two divisions in the West. There's the Pacific and there's the Central. The top three teams in each division make it. So there you have 6 of your 8 teams. And then the next 2 best teams in either of the 2 divisions, they are wild card 1 and wild card 2. We don't have to worry about who gets to play who. All you need to know is that's why it could be one division could have 5 teams and one division could have 3, or it could be a 4-4 split. It depends on the 7th and 8th best teams in the conference. Is that fair to say, Parker?
Yep, that sounds good to me. Okay.
Awesome.
We are going to wrap up there, folks. While you're here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let's bump those numbers even higher. We hit 1K, which was great. We appreciate you guys for that. Let's get those like numbers up. If you enjoyed the show, hit like, obviously, and you can find us both online everywhere. I'm Parker's Pucks on YouTube, Parker's Pucks on Twitter. He's Canuck Clay on YouTube, Canuck Clay on Twitter. It's all linked below. Just go click all those links. Do that sort of thing. We both, I do videos or streams after every game. Clay does videos basically every day. There's so much content between the two of us that if you don't want to only see us once a week on Mondays, you can find us everywhere else. Clay, any parting words from tonight's show?
Well, Parker, this is definitely the dawn of a new era, and we've had 2 back-to-back shows with a lot of engagement, a lot of viewership. We got our first donation tonight. Thank you, Just Incredible. I think things are looking up, not only for us, but more importantly for the team that we love to talk about. And there's a good energy right now, and let's keep it going. But I'm happy you're feeling better too. You're kind of like the Canucks. You kind of hit your low, but now you're coming back up, and I'm excited. And who knows what kind of mood we're gonna be in next Monday, but I'm hoping it's still a really good mood.
Absolutely. And while you guys are still here, if you're listening on an audio platform like Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. Shout out Tiger, who's in the chat right now, left us a 5-star review a couple weeks ago, saying great up and coming show with 2 knowledgeable hosts who have good chemistry, also excellent interaction with viewers/listeners on multiple platforms. Thank you, Tiger. We appreciate it. Go leave us a 5-star review. Those help us out a ton. And if you missed any part of the show, you can rewind back to the beginning here on YouTube. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform in about 20-30 minutes, all that good stuff. All right, that's it from us. Have a good night, and we will see you next week.